Today we are going to share some of the best practices if you want to sell your barbershop. So if you want to sell your barbershop, these are some considerations for you to have, and it's a 10-point checklist. Number one is, why do you want to sell your business? Is it a need or is it a want? Do you need to sell it or do you want to sell it? And be honest about this, because if you reply, I need to sell it and I need to sell it right now, the consideration is going to be much different than if we say, I would like maybe to sell my barbershop at some point in the future. Businesses take some time to change hands and to be sold. So if you are in a rush, there are a few things that you might need to consider whenever we come to buying companies and selling companies and setting the price for a company and how that is structured. So there are two different considerations. Do you need to sell it right now, or do you wish to sell it and have some preparations that need to be done in the next few months? If that is the case, that you need to prepare, phenomenal. If you need to act right now, I would get going, really, because it is going to take a bit longer than you might expect. The second point is, do you know your numbers, and do you know them inside out? Do you know your gross margin? Do you know your net margin? Do you know your VAT liability every quarter? Do you really know your numbers? If I'm asking you, how much money do you make? Do you know what the average customer value is? Anytime someone comes in, how much do they spend on average? How much of that money is profit in your pocket? How much of that money goes back into the business for capital expenditures to buy new equipment? How much of that money goes into utilities, for example? Anyone who wants to buy your business is going to be looking at those things, and those things are very important for you to take a picture of your financial statements on a monthly basis, produce monthly management accounts to see how much you are spending, how much you are taking in. These are very important considerations. So do you know your numbers? And if you don't know your numbers, the best piece of advice I can give you is for you to spend time with your accountant, with your bookkeeper. Bookkeeper would be a lot better than accountant, because accountants, it's like a once per year sort of thing. But if you can sit down with your bookkeeper or spend some time with a bookkeeper going through your numbers, that's going to help you understand your business a lot better, instead of looking at your bank account every day. That's not really how you should run a business. You should be looking at your profit and loss every single month and seeing and planning and that sort of thing. Point number 3 is cash and the cash considerations in the business. The first thing is, do you declare your cash? Because if I am going to buy your business and you tell me you take in £200,000 of cash every single year, I have no means of knowing that. I don't know that. Only you know that. And if you tell me you take £200,000, I'm going to take it at face value. Am I going to believe you? It's very likely that I'm not going to believe you 100% for various reasons. If you tell me you take in a lot of cash, but you don't declare the cash, you would be lying to HMRC. And by you lying to HMRC, what's going to stop you from lying to me? Nothing, because I'm not the government. But if you lie to the government, you might be lying to me as well. So, or you might be 100% transparent and everything might be perfect, but what do I do with the cash? It's very hard to get to spend money these days, how do you spend it? Yeah, you might buy nice things, but you can't really declare them, can you? So if you are taking in a lot of cash, that can potentially be a liability. So if you take any cash, take it to the bank. If you want to sell your company, you are going to have to show receipts. You are going to have to show me receipts. I'm going to have to believe you. And for me to believe you, I have to look at the papers and to look at all the entries and see whether you are telling the truth or you are not telling the truth. Very, very important. Any cash considerations, spend some time around the cash considerations in your business. Number 4 is, do you make any money? Are you profitable? How profitable if you're profitable? If you're thinking about selling your business and you don't want to run your business, do you think someone else is going to pay you for the pleasure and to lose money? The answer is no. If you don't make any money, or you are struggling, or you are not profitable, or you're not very profitable, how likely is it that anyone else is going to step into your shoes, give you the money for them to have that problem? It's very unlikely. So if you make any money, that's phenomenal. You should be making more money to make your business more valuable. So very, very important there. There's a concept in point number 5, and it's called dead capital or trapped capital in a business. And this is something that happens a lot with barbershops, with restaurants, with soft play centers, with a lot of these retail and hospitality businesses. Let me give you an example. If I set up a barbershop and I spend £250,000 in equipment and renovations and making the shop look absolutely beautiful, I spent £250,000. However, the location is really bad, the overheads might be really high, or the footfall might be really bad, and I'm only making £50,000 in turnover every single year. I pay £250,000 for the whole thing, but I'm only getting £50,000 per year in turnover, not profit, but turnover. It is very likely that you have dead capital in your business and that you are not going to recuperate the money you initially invested in the business. Because when I look at a business to buy or sell, I am looking at the money it makes. It's a money-making machine. The place might be lovely, the place might be incredible, but if the place doesn't make any money, then I don't want to buy it. If you have the best facilities in the world, the best location, but you're not really making any money, then I'm gonna get a bit scared about the whole thing. So it's called dead capital. Think about it as an investment, and it might change the way you look at things, and you might have to draw a line in the sand and say, it's likely that I'm not going to recuperate this money. On to the next one, take the loss. It is what it is, but you might be able to sell the business. The problem, if you have invested £250,000 and you want to recuperate that money and you present the numbers to any potential buyers, those potential buyers are going to look at the money it makes and they're not going to make an offer because they're not stupid. So it's important for you to recognize this and to realize that people are buying the cash that your business generates. They don't buy how pretty the barbershop is. Also, we are dealing with a very low barrier to entry sector, meaning anybody can set up a barbershop. anywhere without any competition, without any regulation a lot of the times. If I want to set up a firm of accountants, or I want to deal with kids and education, for example, like a nursery, there are very strict regulations around kids and what you can do, what you can't do, qualifications, health and safety, and rightfully so. The barriers to entry are very high. That's good. But in your industry, anyone can open a barbershop. That gets reflected on the business model, that gets reflected on the considerations around cash and cash flow. It gets considered in terms of competition. There's a lot of competition. There's a few considerations there. Low barrier to entry. You are in a very low barrier to entry business. And sometimes that can be good, and sometimes that can be bad. 6, any lease considerations. Do you have any breakup clauses? Does the business support these comfortably? If you need to exit the company, do you have any covenants? Any repairs and maintenance considerations? Do you have to return the property to form, for example? So let's say that on your lease, it says that you have to return the property as you found it. Even though you've spent £250,000 in your barbershop, if the lease says you have to return the property as you found it, it is very likely that you are going to have to spend £20,000 or £30,000 pulling everything apart and putting it back, returning it back to form. So if that is the case, go through the lease and pay attention to that, because any covenants, any repairs and maintenance considerations, any clauses in the lease are very important whenever you sell a business. Can you actually sell the business and transfer the lease to someone else? Someone else is going to have to look at the lease and consider different things. Number 7 is learn and understand how businesses are sold in the UK. It's very unlikely, I'm not saying impossible, very, very unlikely, that someone is going to give you £200,000 or £400,000 on cash on closing day. You will have to set payments. You are going to have to accept deposits. How the due diligence works in whenever you buy and sell a company, a buyer needs to do the due diligence, any solicitors, any financial due diligence, any HR due diligence, anything to do with the lease, with the property, with you, with your employees. TUPE, for example, the transfer of employees, the asset sale of a company. Are you selling the shares of the company? It's not easy. It's not a simple process. It can be complicated. It can be a bit complex. So learn and understand how businesses are sold in the UK. If you want £200,000 for your barbershop, the first thing I am going to ask is, how did you get to that number? Justify that number with the numbers on the accounts. That's the first thing I'm going to do. And then I am probably not going to give you £200,000 when we sign that I won your business, because I might not have £200,000 and the person you might want to sell it to might not have £200,000. It's very unrealistic for anyone to have £200,000 in the bank unless you're very rich. So you might have to work with that person and to give them regular installments or a payment plan for them to buy your business. That's a big thing. It's a very, very big thing in buying and selling businesses. Not many people give a lot of money on closing day. You do it in stages, as you do it with a car or with anything else. And then, as I said, the due diligence. You are going to have to instruct solicitors to protect yourself, and that costs money. So selling a business costs money. It costs money, it costs your time, your resources. It does cost money. You are going to have to undertake in due diligence, sharing of documents, sharing of your business, and opening up your business to someone alien to you, someone who you don't know. And those are things that you need to consider. And you might want to get them to sign an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement, whereby you give them information and they cannot disclose it to anyone else. How enforceable those things are, they might not be very enforceable, but it is important for you to consider it. And there's another couple things that are extremely important whenever we talk about buying and selling companies. The first one is that business is illiquid. Businesses are illiquid. Very, very illiquid. Arguably the most illiquid asset you can have. Business is very risky. Business in low barrier to entry sectors are even riskier. Why? There's always new barbershops popping up. There's always new restaurants popping up. But there's no new banks popping up. There's no new telecommunications companies popping up. There is no new Apple. There are no multiple Apples. There's 2 or 3 big phone companies, for example. Whereas there's tens of thousands of barbershops and tens of thousands of restaurants. And by you wanting to sell it, that means that your business is very illiquid. If you buy shares or if you have cash is very liquid, and shares can be very liquid. I can sell the shares and I can have the money in my bank account tomorrow, and then I can do whatever I want with the cash tomorrow. If I have a house and I want to sell the house, it might take me up to 6 months to a year to sell my house, because solicitors, chains, offers, deposits, people getting finance, mortgage rates, all that sort of jazz. So from the point that I say yes to the sale of my house to the point of completion and I get the money in my bank account, that can be a very lengthy process. For business, it's even worse. A very small business or a small business or any private business, those are very illiquid entities. If you want to buy another private company, the risk is massive. So that's why the business might take a long time to sell, because there aren't that many buyers. If you sell shares in the public market, you can buy and sell them within minutes. But selling businesses, that doesn't happen every day, because there aren't that many buyers. The business and the market is very opaque. Nobody wants to tell you they want to sell their business because of optics, because of other considerations. And number 10 is the valuation. Valuing a business is not something you do out of thin air. You have to consider the value of the liabilities. You need to consider the value of the assets, the value of the cash flow, extract any add backs, any expenses, your cash conversion cycle. There's so many things you need to pay attention to. Long-term liabilities, short-term liabilities, your cost of goods sold, your gross margin, your net margin. All these things play a role in the valuation of your company. And so if you want to get your company valued, comment below, or you can go to My Company Value. The link is in the description, and you can request a valuation from us. If you wish to sell your business and there's a few things you need to go over with someone, I highly encourage you to get some advice from us. Again, My Company Value, and we can chat there, and we can hopefully help you. So I'll see you in the next one.